This month's ABCD Solution Series is the Cradle to Prison Pipeline. How do we break the chain? Youth here in Boston, especially young men of color and increasingly young women of color, feel like they're fast-tracked to prison. We are hearing from experts in breaking this chain.
We have to know that we, in fact, can address these issues, that we can solve these problems if we have the collective will.
So as many of you know, ABCD has a mission of helping people out of poverty, live with dignity, achieve full potential, and oftentimes the very issue that we're addressing today is one that interrupts that process.
There's a lot of things we have to break along the chain. A lot of these kids that we see here, particularly, they don't get the ability sometimes to get to rehab. They go right to jail. And that's what we're seeing much too often.
I think the hallmark of any vibrant society or community is how we care for the most compromised in that community.
If they're coming from a household where they don't get the nurturing and love and care that a lot of kids are afforded, the streets then have the opportunity to become their parents.
We created a program called the Choice Program where we send our officers into schools. I principally wanted to send officers in so that young kids would have an interaction with an adult in a uniform when they were not in trouble.
We got data from these three school districts, Boston, Worcester, and Springfield, and looked at school-based arrests. It's not across the board all these districts arrest all these kids. There are 5 that had the highest arrest rates. So there's the same kids. They can't just say, well, we have no other solution. Other schools are doing it right.
We need juvenile offenders to get that second shake that someone in Wellesley might get that Roxbury's not getting.
When you begin to become truant, usually that's a telltale sign that juvenile detention and or adult detention is soon to follow.
Kids end up being criminalized for behaviors that just aren't criminal because a law enforcement officer is going to see a certain event as criminal because that's how they've been trained.
There's an important distinction between inappropriate behavior and criminal behavior, particularly when you're talking about young people. There are things that I don't want to condone, but nor do I want to criminalize.
We have in ABCD audiences the people who are living the issues, the people who are fighting the issues, the people who know and have in their minds the solutions to breaking the cradle to prison pipeline chains.
I used to actually work in a detention center in Dorchester as a group care worker, and one thing that kind of bothered me is how the system really isn't meant for these young people to succeed. If the young people read a book, they got movie passes. And the thing is, it's like they're locked up, how are they gonna use a movie pass? Get them books from Amazon or something, they're like 5 cents, $1.
We created Beantown Society to create space for young people who were gang involved and systems involved to come and gauge a level of political education to be able to forge change in their communities.
Like we can get parents and we can get teachers and we can get people from the community to rally behind these young people, but if the young people that are most affected aren't rallying behind these things, we're gonna see little to no change. It's just more impactful.
I think that we talk about it like, hey, you know, we got a lot of young guys in jail, but we don't talk about why and how to keep them out. You know, we often talk about the negative part of what they're doing and the accountability that they need to have so they cannot go there, but we don't talk about what we need to do as service providers.
So for me, a lot of young people, there aren't opportunities, and we have to figure out how to help them create their own opportunity.
So before you can rebuild, you have to dismantle what's really bad, and I would say get the police out of the schools. Stop arresting kids in school.
Dismantle structural racism by ensuring that all policies and practices align with a racial justice framework, by doing racial equity impact assessments in all government and private institutions.
At ABCD, you know, we try to do our small part in it as well, and obviously that is continuing to provide opportunity.
There's an urgency to talk about this all the time. Frankly, we should have been talking about this 20 years ago, 30 years ago. We hope we're not talking about this 20 and 30 years from now.